friends, it's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. Welcome to Wonderful Wednesday. This is a weekly series that I do here on my YouTube channel where I pop in and share a tutorial for a wonderful paper crafting design. We follow a little schedule. The first Wednesday of the month is always the tag of the month, followed by the banner of the month, the birthday card of the month, and then the flower of the month. So this is our flower of the month week, and we are featuring these beautiful Heartfelt Creations poppies, daisies, and Lush lilacs. I'm going to show you how to build the lilacs and the daisies in the tutorial. We're making this darling fairy, this is Poppy the fairy, embroidery hoop wall hanging. And this is such a sweet little display piece. It's got a little shaker frame over here with our buddy the snail, then a whole cascade of beautiful flowers, star anise, a little snail shell from the beach. Here's Poppy, butterflies, stars, her little mushroom house, a really pretty little dangle charm, and then a ribbon hanger with a Reneabouquets butterfly. So if you would like to learn how to put this together, stick around because the tutorial is coming up next. All right, friends, here's the flowers that we're going to be working with. And sadly, I only have time to show you how to do the daisies because with everything that's gone on this month, I'm just crushed and I'm late on deadlines and everything else, which I never am. I'm always ahead of time. But it's just been one of those months. Everybody has them. It's all going to be good. But these are poppies that I had made some time ago. These are Heartfelt Creations poppies. And I had these in my stash, so I pulled these out. I love the itty bitty ones. They're so sweet. And I actually just stamped black ink onto this sort of terracotta cardstock and then just shaped them. So, and brushed like these. I brushed with a little bit of Stamperia Glamour Gel, the gold Glamour Gel. So that's that. These are daisy leaves. I didn't even have time to stamp them. I just die cut them and then brushed them with my Nouveau Mousse. This color is spring green, and I did a darker green on the bottom, so it kind of created a layered effect. And then I shaped them with my golf tools. These are, believe it or not, lilacs, but I stamped onto this pale green paper with archival ink. It's called Olive. It's one of my favorite colors. And then I just shaped them simply. I just took the end of my paintbrush and poked it into the middle. I'll show you those. I have time to show you one of those, and I have time to show you a daisy. So I kept the little daisies. They're hard to video because they're so small. You can't see anything except my hand. So I kept out the bigger daisies so I can show you kind of my process there. And then these are also from the Lilac collection. I just thought those sprigs would be pretty tucked in. So let me move all these things out of the way. And I've already die cut my daisies. And when you die cut these, they have like a little connector piece. I like to break that connector piece so I get a little more lift. And so I just go around and break that very quickly. And as I always do before I shape my flowers, I'm going to mist them lightly with water. This releases the starch that is in the paper, and it makes them hold their shape. And instead of a stylus, this time I'm going to use my golf tools. These are really cool, and they're very nice for the daisies. I don't know if you can see, they have a groove. So they actually leave a groove in the petal as you shape them. So it really makes the daisies have that daisy look. And I'm just starting at the tip and pressing. I'm not dragging, I'm just pressing toward the center like this. And then I'm simply going to cup the center with my tool and then set that one aside. So the same thing I'm just going to show you here again. You just press with your tool, and do you see how it ruffles the leaves and it leaves this, the technical word is striation. How's that for a 25-cent word? It just means stripies, lines. but it leaves those there and it gives them a very pretty shape. So I like to do that. Then I'm going to come in with my hot glue gun. Oops, I'm skipping a step. Hold on. I'm going to bring in my Nouveau Mousse. This time I'm going to spritz it a couple of times with water. I'm going to take a brush and brush some of that off. And I'm just going to go in and brush on the petals just randomly. Do you see that? Not heavily, just to put a little color, especially on the tips of this one that's on the top. But I like the way that looks. And of course, if you want to do that differently, you can, because that's the beauty of making your own flowers, is that you can make them be whatever way you want them to be. So I'm going to put my hot glue in the center of this one, and then I'm going to stagger the petals. And what that means is the little petals are between the big petals, and then I'm just going to push it. And then I'm going to come in with my fingers, and I'm just going to kind of shape the ends. Some of them I'm going to make go out, some of them I'm going to make go in. I'm just kind of pinching, almost like when you make pie crust. It's very similar. A lot of things, there's a lot of crossover between the kitchen and the craft room, my friends. So just to kind of add a little more shape. This is a big one, so we want it to be really interesting. All right. Pressing that again. Then I'm going to come in with my Dries Clear adhesive. I'm going to circle the center. And this one I did quite a bit because that's a big flower, so it calls for a big center. And I'm bringing in my little funnel tray. And this is Flower Soft. And I'm just going to sprinkle that in there. Just like that. Super easy. I'm just going to wait a second, tip it out, and there's a really pretty daisy center. So I like the way that looks. I think it's really pretty. And then of course you add your greenery and you've got something really beautiful. Now for the, let me just set this aside, and I think I might add a little bit more color to the outside petals of the larger one that's on the bottom. Just with my brush, just very quickly. See, I like that better. It has a little more, I don't know, it almost looks like it should be on a lily pad. But anyway, we're not going to use that big one, I don't think, in this arrangement anyway. All right, so now this little guy, I saved one of these out. And again, I spritzed it lightly. It's dry, so I'm just going to spritz it again. Oops. I press into the center with the butt of my paintbrush. I'm just going to put one drop right in the very center. Bring in my funnel tray. Somewhere I have these white prills. Here they are. These are called mini pearls. I'll just do like that. Tip this out. I get a few renegades in there, but it'll be all right. And I really got this very wet. I'm going to have to set that somewhere to dry. Okay. So I'm just going to cup this with my fingers a little bit because it wants to go flat. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to put a little puddle of glue. I didn't even check to see if I was in frame. This has been such a crazy day. put a little puddle of glue there, and I'm coming in with my paintbrush. I'm going to paint these leaves with the glue. And then I'm going to come in with my funnel tray. This is Rajni Shalwa's Crystal Clear. This is my favorite thing to put on flowers for sparkle. And you just kind of give it a little bath. And there you go, really pretty. And you've got that pretty raised center, your little delicate petals. These will be pretty sprinkled in with the larger, bolder flowers. So that is the flower tutorial for June. Again, I'm sorry it's a short one. It's just, that's my life right now. And I just got to roll with it and keep alive. Hopefully July will be a more sedate month. I'm looking forward to it. Hang around and I'll show you the finished project. All right, my friends, I'll start showing you how I built this little project. First, I started with this embroidery hoop. This just picked up from any craft store. This one is about, I think probably about 7 inches. I'll measure it for you. 6.5. And it was just plain wood. So I mixed up speckled egg and cracked pistachio distress paints to create this color that kind of matches the green that's in the background. And then I spattered it with straight up cracked pistachio. And then I came in with Stamperia gold glamour gel and just kind of used my finger to lightly brush it. And you can see I brushed it on Poppy's wings too. So we're going to begin to build layers. This is one, if this turns out like it is in my head, it's going to be pretty fun. So I fussy cut a larger image of Poppy from the 12 by 12 pad. It had some nice fussy cut images. And I backed her with foam tape. And we're going to layer this over the Poppy that's on the paper. I just felt like she needed more of a presence. And so I'm just going to put her down. I glittered her wings. And then I brushed the Poppy with a little bit of that glamour gel. So I wanted lots of sparkle and shine in this. I'm discovering that fairies are very messy. I have glitter everywhere, but hopefully it will be worth it when we get this all done. So there's the first thing I'm going to add. Then I wanted a shaker element. So I took this, it's the little things that make life big from the paper collection, and cut it out. And I made it a shaker. This is one of Tim Holtz's, I think these are baseboard frames, and I painted it with the same paint, kind of gave it the same treatment. Oh yeah, and then I did kind of pounce a little bit of abandoned coral to pull in the Poppy shades on this too. And I want this to sit in this corner, but it needed a prop to help hold it. So this is a this is packing material. You know how sometimes you get stuff that has styrofoam packing material in it? And I took this, and by adding foam tape to the back, I think it's going to be exactly the right height for our little shaker frame. And see, now it's nice and stable. Once that glue sets up, it's not going to go anywhere. All right, so there's that element. Then I love this little mushroom. So I was like, well, let's give Poppy a little house over here that, you know, is in the distance. So I've used those same styrofoam packing tools here, but I put hot glue on the edge, and then I just added these bitty buttons to make it a little more whimsical. I think that's super cute. All right, now I want to create a forest floor because these are woodland fairies. And these are shavings from my son's wood turning shop. I saw these and I was like, can I have those? And he was like, yeah. So I'm just going to put some hot glue down around in there. I thought about doing Spanish moss, but I kind of like the wood shavings. They have a really cool texture, and I like the variation in the colors, and there's little wood curls in there that make them quite beautiful. So I'm going to tuck these in. I don't want to cover up her cute little shoes. I want it to kind of have the feeling that she's standing on a pile of, you know, like debris in the forest. So that looks pretty good. I looked in my beach stuff and I found this perfect little moon snail shell, and I'm going to add him to the mix. Tuck him in right there. Then to create even more of a sense of dimension, I fussy cut this butterfly. He was inside the poppy fairy. So I just cut him out, and we're going to put him right here and lift his wings. Whoops. There we go. I like that. I have some peppercorns from the kitchen, and I'm just going to dot some of my Dries Clear adhesive over these wood shavings. I don't want to cover them up, but I don't know, it's just almost like, my thought is that these will look almost like mushrooms, and we'll see how that works out. You know, you get these thoughts in your head. You have to give them a go. And then I think I want some of them over here too. Kind of like this. Maybe even a couple on the stem. Because we're kind of building a story here, which is I'm a storyteller at heart. And I don't want these, well, maybe one big one, right? Maybe right there. But mostly I want these smaller ones. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So now I think we'll try to add some floral elements to this. And I have this leaf from the Delightful Daisy collection. I'm going to put it right here. And I might just pinch up the leaf tips a little bit to make them look more lifelike. All right, I like that. And then maybe a smaller leaf down on this end. And I'm just going to let you watch me build this and listen to pretty music. I'm satisfied. I think that's good. I thought about adding this butterfly, and I might look for a smaller one, but I'm going to wait on that, and I'll show you why. I've prepared a dangle charm. This is a fairy bauble from Reneabouquets, and then just some stuff, random stuff that I pulled from my stash. I've got this sweet little, let's flip her over so she can be seen. This sweet little fairy charm and a mushroom charm. There's a butterfly in there and a tassel in there. And we're going to take this around the top. I'm going to wrap it around. And then I've also got some vintage lace, crocheted lace, that I want to kind of do the same thing with. And then just tie this together. And come back. There we go. And then I want to bring these up, and I'm going to stitch them together with a button so that this becomes the hanger. So I'm going to do something like this. Okay? So that you can hang it from here. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, friends, here we are all finished up. I'll just show you. I tucked some foliage behind the embroidery hoop to fill out our floral arrangement and to really create a nice fullness there. I took some star sequins and scattered them around because, you know, more is more. And then I reduced the number of items on the charm. I just felt like it was too many. So I just kept the little fairy, the mushrooms, and the tree. I tied this around, put my flower here to cover up the knot, and then stitched a button at the top, a big wooden button, and then glued my beautiful butterfly on top of that. So there we are, the end of Fairy Month. This has been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it. July will be Christmas in July, and the good news is I'll be using collections from last year for that, so you may have a lot of them in your stash. And that's going to be a really fun month as well, and we'll follow the same tag, banner, birthday party, and flower format. And then many of you have asked for August to be sunflower. So I might do beach in August and sunflower in September, but we'll make everybody happy. We'll get everything worked in. Don't forget to like and share this video. It really helps people to find my channel if you do that. My views have been really down, so I don't know what the story is there. So if you could like and share, I mean, you can take this link and share it on your Facebook page, on your Instagram page. You can invite friends to join us here. That would be totally awesome. But I'm going to clean up my mess, and then I'm going to get my craft done. Thanks for joining me for another wonderful Wednesday, friends. Bye.